Hello, everyone. This is Inga Hansen, editor of Metaesthetics Magazine. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to go ahead and get started. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can type them into the question box, which is on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation. Today, we're going to be talking about how to improve your organic search engine ranking so you can reach more prospective patients online. Our presenter is Corey Oj. He is a national executive with Crystal Clear Digital Marketing. Corey attends more than 20 medical and aesthetic conferences nationwide each year to educate physicians and staff on how to grow their businesses through effective digital marketing. Welcome, Corey.
Hey guys, how's everybody doing? Good to be here. I know that I'm the only person that can really talk and say much, which could be really exciting, actually. Looking forward to it. And I can't wait to dive in with you guys. Thank you so much, Inga and Metaesthetics Magazine. So we just get rolling. We'll just start to go for the sake of time. Your time is very important to us. We very much appreciate everybody on the line. We've got about 28 people in. People will continue to roll in, and just can't wait to dive into the secrets behind effective SEO strategies, principles, and practices that we have found. Most of our best practices in the U.S., actually throughout 4 different countries that we're working with, are really just doing a great job at this. It's not rocket science, you'll find, but today we're going to just dive into so many different ways that you can do a lot of these things on your own, and we're really looking forward to it. Thanks, Inga. All right, so jumping right in. So again, I'm the national executive here at Crystal Clear. Just psyched to dive into what we found are some of the best philosophies and methods that we see a lot of people today just jumping into and using. We're going to actually have about 45 minutes. We'll just roll through and then take questions towards the end. So feel free, like she said, to just type them at the end. Sound good? A couple quick questions as we start, guys, just to prime the conversation and get into the content today. Just to start to get engaged in some of our thought processes and to really dive into what it is that you actually are assessing here yourselves in your own worlds of SEO. The first thing is, do you have a clear, defined keyword matrix for your top RX, your top strategy, services, and procedures? Second, do you know how many unique visits occurred on your website last month from your organic SEO efforts? Just how much content you're writing, all of your organic SEO. Do you actually have a feel on that, a pulse check on that? Third question to ask you guys today is, do you know what percentage of those visitors completed an online form or called your practice? And it's essentially your site's conversion rate, right? That's the biggest thing you want to track, so you want to have a good pulse on that as well. Do you know what percentage of those conversions actually scheduled and showed up for a consultation? Do you know the amount of money that you actually spent to generate those consultations? Imagine that, knowing the amount of money that you actually spent and what you actually got back. Another question, do you guys know how much money for your business received from those consultations, treatments, and procedures performed? Another thing to be thinking about, just as we dive in, is do you actually know how much money you made from your organic SEO efforts last month? Not your paid strategy necessarily, which is important, but your organic strategy, which makes all the difference in the world to you as we start and talk about this. Do you know your ROI from those efforts? And lastly, should you care? And do you? Of course you do, that's why we're all here, but you'd be surprised how many people might not know how to care or how to treat these hemorrhages in a lot of the practices that we see. So, a couple quick stats. Here's some really interesting stats just to get our brains moving here. 80% of future and existing patients are all researching online. I'm sure you're like, well, yeah, tell me something I don't know. We really understand how powerful internet is today and how far-reaching it's become and how much it's evolved and how much is out there, but 80% of future and existing patients are researching, not just looking up information. They want to know information, they want to do something and experience something, and they want to buy. So 80% of people are not only looking and searching, but they want to buy. And we're going to show you what that means and from where primarily. Second, 76% of the social patients visit 2 or more practices online. It's crazy if you think about that and process that for a second. It's a big statistic. 62% of all searches are done on a mobile device. That's astonishing, and we're going to unpack that as well. So welcome to the social patient, guys. This is nothing new. We all can pretty much start off our launching pad here today just pretty much assuming that we have what's called today social patients. Everybody is engaged. They are connected online. I'm from Orlando, Florida, and I just went over had the eye of the hurricane pass through our city, and I still had Wi-Fi. I was able to look and search and check in, and once the power was restored, but hey, I am a social consumer, and medical practices have social patients. What we know about these people is that they have a lower attention span, They have much higher expectations, and they have 24/7, most of the time, internet connectivity. Constantly. The world is in their fingertips. They can research, they can buy, they can pretty much know everything that they need to know in the palm of their hands. So really, here's a million-dollar question as you guys sit and as we go over this to really think about. And it's going to frame everything that we do in terms of what is not only most important in your SEO, but what our belief is and how we start to organize these thoughts. So the question is, could you sit down right now and identify the top 3 to 5, even up to 10 treatments and procedures that drive the bulk of your practice revenue? Have you researched and defined the keywords that are used by online consumers, people that are searching for your stuff, to actually search for and find those keywords that are associated to your services and to your practice? Have you done that? That's a massive question. We're going to put some meat on that in a second, but that's a big question to ask. What do you guys think is the most important component of a successful SEO strategy? You might be a little bit surprised by what I might answer with in a minute as you're rattling some thoughts and thinking about what the answer is, but most importantly, it's actually you. It's your people. Everybody that's at your staff day in and day out, it's in the practice, behind the 4 walls, it's you. It's your people, it's your processes that you have in place, and the tools that you use to manage conversion, retention of the most valuable thing that you have, patients. So your people first, patients second, right? So here's the agenda. Here's what we hope to accomplish today. We're going to discuss simple SEO strategies that are easy to implement, make a huge difference in the bottom line productivity and profitability in your business. Second, how to design a medical practice website that converts, think about that, a site that converts visitors into paying patients and keeping them to come back. Number 3, your keyword research. So essentially your online marketing conditions and their potential effect on all the rankings that you set up and how that attaches to your website. Number 4, understanding the implications of longer versus shorter keyword phrases. Number 5, google.com my business, /my business, and the importance of other directory listings. Number 6, the importance of Google reviews. What is your process there? Are you in control of that process, or do third parties control you for that? And number 7, blogging. Content is still king. We know this. And every form of media, if it's your website, if it's email, if it's Facebook, if it's blogging, content still is king in terms of SEO, and we'll dive into that too. So website design, we'll start here. So there's really a few ways that you want to make sure that your website is banging on all cylinders. You want to make sure that your website, number 1, is mobile responsive, right? Because again, our statistics tell us we know how many people are searching online, and now primarily people are searching and buying and doing and going and experiencing and engaged on their phone. The desktop is no longer the primary place from which people are actually making purchases. It's actually in the palm of their hands in their bed at night, sitting there wanting to make a decision or be informed about something. So mobile responsiveness is a huge initiative that's put out through Google, so that the same user experience exists for every single business, every single URL, every single website, period. So we know this, and we have to adapt. We have to make sure that your site is fully mobile responsive, and we need to make sure that that's done. Number 2, conversion primarily has got to be your objective on the website. And guys, you cannot imagine when we assess different websites from all different practices, how many obstacles are in the way between patient and consumer to actually go to the website to do what it is you want them to do, schedule a consultation. So the primary objective in your website and your strategy has got to be remove all the obstacles digitally, no matter where it comes from. If it's social media, email, website, you want them to go to call you and fill out a web form to schedule with you. So conversion has got to be the primary objective. Number 3, we want to include a list of all services and treatments and procedures offered by the practice in navigation on the site. And all of that should be skeleton built with all of your services and procedures and SEO in mind. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. Number 4, before and after galleries are so important and should be really all of your actual patients, not stock footage of that. You know, you can use stock videos on your website, you know, like you see here. These are stock photos. But when it comes to your before and after gallery, you want that to be real, raw, professionally done, real time to the business because it's essentially showing off your work. The best part of your work is before and after, and it's a huge conversion tool. Keeps people on your site, doesn't shoot them off to Pinterest or Instagram photo galleries. It actually takes the philosophy of Pinterest, puts it on your site, and keeps them there. That's conversion minded. Number 5, regular updates and blogging is such a huge part of your strategy. It's not outdated anymore. But here's a problem. A lot of practices and really businesses, they set up the website, they put a blog portion on the navigation bar of the website, but they actually don't update that content frequently and actively coming from the site by way of their blogging content. You cannot have outdated blogging. It's no bueno, not good. It shows your website being out of date, out of touch, and not regularly updated. And most importantly, that content's not being put into the hands of your users. So that's what we want to avoid. And lastly, and we're going to dive into this a lot, how your site actually is pulled up, so the speed of it by which it pulls up, is so important to functionality and most important, usability. If your site pages aren't loading, if everything's not the same across all devices, if there's any kind of break in speed and connectivity and efficiency, you're going to lose people. So we've got to fix that. It's very important. Here it is. So straight from the horse's mouth. Pretty much Google, guys. Google runs the world, I guess, these days, and we listen. But here's a great quote that really sets the stage for what it is and the power of Google and the power of search results and mobile friendliness. So this is what Google said. So to make our results more useful, we've begun experiments to make our index mobile first, meaning how it is people are searching on their phones. That is the most important initiative that's driven by Google, and we should take into consideration. Although our search index will continue to be a single index of websites and apps, and our algorithms will eventually primarily use the mobile version of a site's content to rank pages from that site. Just think about that for a second. This is Google telling us that we are going to consider algorithms and patterns and pages by which people are actually engaging, surfing, shopping, and buying, and actually connecting with you. And from there, they're actually going to give you a higher rank based on your mobile setup of your website and your mobile friendliness and responsiveness. So ultimately, if you have a responsive site or dynamic serving site where the primary content and markup is equivalent across mobile and desktop, you shouldn't have to change anything as long as it's set up properly. So how do you know? How do you know it's set up properly? But the most important thing is the speed. It's such a massive part of your SEO strategy, believe it or not. So here's some quick data on the average load time. So average load time for a first position ranking on Google on a search ranking is about 9.82 to 13.82 seconds. It's the average speed, average load time. So here's some strategies in terms of executing this in a way that actually makes sense and is cohesive. So number 1, your on-site SEO, which is you should have all original and unique content to improve your content-driven ranking strategy. You cannot have duplicate content. You can't go to some local competitor down the road site and copy and paste their website stuff that you liked into your site. You have to write original content. I definitely suggest that you guys, if you don't have, to have original content writers either that you hire at an hourly rate, or if you have someone internal that's staff that's hired to write content along the lines of your services and procedures, it's got to be original to you. Can't be duplicate. Google will actually flag your site and take it down. Number 2, sitemap needs both on-site and search engine sitemap optimization. So your sitemap has to do with your business's name, obviously. All addresses, if you have one location or multiple locations, all of those locations and phone numbers and business information needs to be the exact same on all digital directories, indirect and direct. Got to be cleaned up. It's got to be done. I can show you some tools for that too in just a minute. Number 3, keywords used in content are so crucial to your keyword ranking strategy. So if we're talking about dental, we're talking about laser dentistry. If we're talking about Botox and fillers, we're talking about Juvederm or Kybella. So those short terms are important, and keywords make a huge difference in your battle strategy of search content. Number 4, on your homepage, highlight the 3 to 6 services that you guys expect to be the most profitable for your practice. Imagine that. It's simple. A lot of SEO people don't think about your top 3 to 6 business goals or your 3 to 6 most profitable services that bring in the most amount of money. That's what good SEO should do. It should be in line with your business goals, top revenue generating procedures, and driving content with those in mind. Content is king. Blogging should be regular. It should be put in the hands of the users frequently and efficiently. And reviews. And we're going to talk about the process by which you should get them internally, and then how to send them out and actually get them, not only from your patient base, but how to send them out properly so that you're actually controlling that process, owning that content information, rather than other companies owning it and ruling it for you. Okay, factors to consider, guys, when selecting keywords. Again, we kind of hit it a little bit, but I want to dive it a bit more. So you want to think of your top services and procedures. Again, you want to think, what are the top services and procedures? What are the things that shape who I am as a business and a practice apart from my local competition? Because number one, your search volume is what we're after. How big is the universe of searches in your market locally for a specific treatment or procedure? And there's a lot of Google Analytics that can use. Very, very user-friendly. It's very, very good. But more than that, you want to dial in this content-driven strategy to your SEO and to your search terms based on your services. Those services and those key terms should be in direct relation to a landing page on your website. So for this practice, one of our practices, Thermiva OKC, we're going to actually optimize this as a search term for our practice, making sure that organically we're writing more content than their local competitor. MedSpa OKC, Myra Dry OKC. This represents all the search terms, the battle strategy of content by which we actually frame this house on. And from there, we're able to benchmark their top 3 competitors, and you're going to know what your organic presence is. Am I writing more content than my competitor locally? And where am I ranked for every single one of these search terms that we've strategically set up? You should do the same. Number 2, how do you look at your competition? How much and how realistically can we compete for a certain phrase? You know, there's a lot of them that I'm sure in your practices you've tried to go after. There's a lot of services and procedures that are local to your competitors that you maybe have been taken with a paid ad. But how you frame this strategy is so important to actually getting users to go from you to a landing page on your site and to get them to call you and book with you. We've got to think that through. Number 3, long tail versus short tail search terms. So what I mean by that, again, Myra Dry is a particular service and procedure. That's a key term. So Myra Dry OKC would be a short tag for SEO. But Myra Dry with a specific description in a specific location would be a longer meta tag to actually tag back to a certain content page. Both of them are very effective. SEO companies around the world are doing this, and it's very important. We've got a great team to do that as well. But Botox RI versus is Botox right for me is really the differentiation between just Botox as a short term, and then if someone's searching is Botox right for me as a longer term search that fits the criteria in both of those avenues that a path and a user could take. And both of them are important. I would suggest you guys setting those up right away and start to align those. Now here's some Google tools for SEO. Number 1, I'm sure most of you guys know about this, and most of you are probably using this third-party source. But Google Analytics will essentially track your site traffic, which is good to do. How many sessions are created on your site, how many page views, how many people have viewed pages, average time that a person is on a website can be tracked, and where the traffic came from. It's all good information. It's all very, very good. And number 2, Google Webmaster. It's another huge third party that you can use through Google. Great source. It's free. But essentially it's used mostly by digital professionals, guys like me or guys like other digital marketing companies in the industry. And it basically detects errors in sites and sitemap indexing. So, I don't know, people, if you have any spare time while you're answering the phones in your practice while you're loving serving the patients, most people don't have the time to start doing all that site tracking and indexing. While it's good information, while it's an amazing tool, you still want more than that. You want to be able to track not only website pages and hits, you want to track what are people looking at, what do they want even before they call me. And that's important to know. There's SEO task management tools, something called UpCity. Obviously, again, crystal clear. We're here to educate you guys, and we love that you spend your time. We're not here to sell you. We've got a lot of tools and information that we can use to actually help you and guide you as well. Provide yourself an organized way to identify and complete important SEO tasks, because Organic SEO, for those of you that have tried to tackle this and are tackling this day by day between whether it be paid campaigns or organic SEO is a daily monster to tackle. Unless you either have someone internally or hire someone externally, there is no way that you could write content on your own to keep up with being #1 with certain search terms that you're actually trying to rank for. You've got to get someone that can actually do that really, really well and spend the time to do it. Here's another huge tool and thing to consider in terms of your directory cleanup. This is such an important piece of the strategy of your SEO because a lot of people overlook digital directories. So what I mean by this is there are two primary sources by which you should clean up your business name, the practice phone number, the website, all of that information that points directly to you. So usually you'll clean up Facebook profiles, Google profiles, Yellow Pages, Yelp. But there's actually about 12 to 14 direct and indirect digital directories that you have to clean up your information. You've got to clean it up. Everything has to be the same because essentially this is a breadcrumb trail that leads directly to your practice, to your website. Now it's a small piece of the equation, but it's such a huge part of it because digital marketing is a breadcrumb trail. It's an ecosystem. And I've heard companies, especially SEO companies, tell doctors that we've worked with, well, this is not really a big piece of it. It's a huge piece of it. If you could get 2 patients from this, would you do it? From cleaning these up? Of course you would. 2 patients a month just from cleaning this up will make a huge difference. So things like Yext.com, Local Erase, Crystal Clear, these are companies that can clean this up and do this. And the benefits are the tools allow you simply to submit your site to multiple directories and to search engines. It's simple. Second most important benefit is that it checks for accuracy and consistency across all of those mediums, not just a couple. So it essentially increases your chance of visibility and engagement. Now, healthy keyword matrix. This is what a healthy keyword matrix would look like. It's just a sample of one that we've produced and shown, but just to give you a visual and an idea, so you really should be able to have all of your battle strategy. In other words, I mean your top services and procedures as a practice. You should exactly know which one of these, where they're ranked organically. So if anybody searches for Ultherapy Oak Brook, you should be number one in Google and Bing for your organic structuring of this key term. And right down the line, where do I sit if I was to search for my top services and procedures in my local area? Right? So here, number 6 in Google, that's where this term sits today. And in Bing, it's number 1. Now we've got you should have your top 3 competitors. If I go and search my top 3 competitors that are local to me, where will they come up in the search ranking for their top services and procedures as well? How close are they to me? How am I differentiated? You've got to look at this every single day. Got to look at it every single day. It's a constant grind. It's a daily battle, but it's a very, very necessary one. Okay, so blogging. Let's jump into blogging a little bit. Blogging, while you think it may be outdated and really tough to keep up, it's such a smart and good strategy if you can keep up with it in terms of content. Why? Because unique, relevant content is absolutely king. It just needs to be constant, frequent, and updated every day, and every month mostly. So this is a practice, actually, Miami Vein Center, that's actually from September 21st, 2015, is still getting patients, still getting engagements. We wrote that for them. September 2015, they're still getting patients from this content. What's the difference? The difference is this doctor is just producing this content every single month and shooting it out at the right place at the right time frequently. So you can have content from 3 years ago that you've written, but if you put it in the right place at the right time constantly, you'll win. And it shows that your practice is actually driving content, and Google will actually reward that and actually give you value on your digital presence through keyword ranking. Now here's an example. If you just type in this really ridiculous long term, everybody can try to say it. I'm not going to try to say that. We'll figure that out later. Inga can help me say that later. But just for this term and procedure, if you were to put this in the search term and search that up, what would you get? What would be the presence on this? What would you find? What comes up first? But check this out. This is in direct relation to the blog that we wrote in 2015. It's coming up number 2 in organic ranking. You didn't pay anybody in Google for this ad. There's no paid ad associated with this term. You just have to be able to write content frequently, deliver it into the right people's hands that are searching for this stuff, drive them to your website as part of the breadcrumb trail to convert them. Good marketing is about finding new patients, serving your existing ones, and keeping them for life. Blogging just serves that point, and not only the breadcrumb trail to convert them, but to educate them and keep them. You should have a mechanism in place or some kind of a tracking in place, guys, that you can actually track your phone calls and know what created the most amount of phone calls to your practice, because that's really the only way that you can start to track ROI. You know, what good is it if you've got 500 website hits? You've got 500 people that have visited your website. I like to call 500 window shoppers, and everybody's excited. Everybody's like, woo, we got 500 new hits to our site. But what about, okay, if we got 200 phone calls, and out of those 200 phone calls, what did people look at? What did they want? Why did they call? What content that we actually drove from our website drew that person to come to the site? And it's so important to track that. A lot of marketing industries and companies don't really see that connection, but that's the big gap in your strategy, the black hole of what we don't track and manage and measure. And you cannot, remember this, guys, you cannot manage what you don't measure. So a lot of our top practices, they will literally not only they'll record their phone calls, but they have a mechanism in place that actually knows how many people went to my website because of the content that's coming from my webpage. How many people called me because of this? How many people called me because of that? And not only in addition to tracking top websites like Google Analytics, you should have some kind of an in-house software, some kind of a tool that shows you these things. What are the results? Why are people calling? Why are people searching? Why are people visiting? So here's Dr. Genevieve. Dr. Genevieve is a huge plastic surgeon out of South Texas. He's got his directory cleaned up. So not only if you search for, you know, Botox San Antonio or Juvederm San Antonio, his digital directory will be cleaned up. You'll be able to find him in the search map listing, his top 6 to 12 services and procedures, and even take the time. If you guys do services and procedures and that are overlapping with him, check out his digital presence. The guy's killing it. He's got 2 locations, open to med spa, doing Snapchats live. He's exploded, but his presence is tied together. Everything is connected. It's not fragmented. His reviews, his directories, all of his search is in one place. It's a good digital presence and precedent to set in his local market. He's dominating it. So google.com/mybusiness is what you can get. It's free. There's pictures of your practice is there, your map and your directions is there. It really points a very clear path to consumer, to new patient, to go to you. There's no confusion on how to find him. There's their review displayed underneath. You can write a review if he's an existing patient, so he's fully engaged with his platform and how people find him. The hours of operation are there. I'm sure you guys get this. This is all simple stuff. But you'd be very surprised on how fragmented this is and how much business we're leaving off the table because these activities aren't taken care of and in-house cleaned up. So this reporting allows you to follow and increase reviews, see what's working throughout insights. You can track clicks and calls and see the total map views. It's about a big picture, guys. It's about an ecosystem. You can't just have good SEO. You can't just have a beautiful, pretty website without good SEO. Everything has to be tied together, working in concert and in harmony with one another, and SEO is a massive part of that. So simple SEO strategies and keyword samples again. So you want to get your top services and procedures, line them up, make sure where you know where your competitors are, make sure you know where you're sitting as well. Now when SEO is done correctly as part of a comprehensive strategy, the results can really be amazing because now you're starting to connect data and design. That's huge, guys. So data and design, we do not live in a design world anymore. It can't be just about I've got the sexiest website. It has to be about I've got the sexy website, but what's most important is we are in a data-driven market, data-driven industry. So with good SEO, that's tied to your landing pages, you're going to be able to tell and you're going to be able to know what did social media do. So for this doctor, just to let you know, this is from a report from Dr. Genevieve, and this was what actually happened because he's tying these two things together in terms of result and return. We know, and he knows, that he got about 48,000, a little over 48,000 impressions to the site that month, just through Facebook. So out of about 50,000 impressions, we'll call that window shoppers, that saw his Facebook material, the job is not to get all excited because you got 50,000 Facebook viewers or impressions. What matters is, out of this number, how many people went to the site? So in that month, he had 1,100, just about 12,000 brand new unique users to the site. That's a 7.3 increase in traffic to his website, which is huge, huge. And of course, we get all excited about that. But at the end of the day, what really matters is not increase in traffic, or that we had 1,100, 12,000, excuse me, brand new visitors to the site. What matters is how many people called and how many filled out a form, and then how do you track that? How do you know? So here's really what a digital conversion is, and there's a lot of confusion between what is conversion. That's the big buzzword today. It's all about conversion. It's all about conversion. Well, show me conversion. This is digital conversion. How many people that went to your site that month and actually did something? This is digital marketing conversion. So there were 700 brand new forms and phone calls during that month, which is an increase of conversion in terms of new leads at 4.5% increase, which is huge. Just so you know, guys, national average in statistics, people that don't use a system like this or any kind of a tracking tool, national average website conversion in the digital industry today is 1 to 2%. This doctor converted because he had a system in place of tracking everything at 4.5%. So this number to that number, brand new forms and phone calls came in that month. So conversion was at 5 to 6%, digital conversion. Now the real conversion becomes, okay, how many people actually called the practice out of the 700 people and scheduled a consultation? So this is what we really need to be tracking, guys, and take the deeper dive of, all right, 700 forms and phone calls came in, a combination of these. How many people paid me? How many people out of that 700 number could our practice get, our people, our good processes, the tools that we have in order to say, how many consultations did we get, how many paying patients, and was the marketing worth the squeeze? What did our SEO do? Makes sense, right? That's simple stuff. That's real simple stuff. But if you don't have a mechanism in place to track this bottom line of marketing, you really have nothing else to talk about. There's nothing else to look at. So if you've got 5,000 followers on Facebook, you've got 15,000 followers on Instagram, you've got all these beautiful bells and whistles set up, right here is all that you need to know. It's got to be data-driven. It can't be feelings-driven 100%. It can't be design-driven. It can't be all look and feel. It has got to be data. Because the last time I checked, guys, likes, comments, shares, and engagements don't actually pay your staff. They don't pay your people. And they actually don't pay the electricity, the lasers, or the equipment. What pays it is this. How many forms and phone calls did that marketing company bring in? What did we do? And then out of the 700 forms and phone calls, what did we actually schedule? Who kept the appointment? Do we track who's kept it? How do we boil this down? And it boils down to finding new patients, serving your existing ones, and keeping them for life. Sounds good, right? All sounds easy in theory, but hey, guys, I really hope this is dialed down. I hope you guys have gotten a lot from this. That boils down really the nuts and bolts of overview SEO, how to tie these things together, how to track the data, and make sure that we boil it down to clear strategies that ties it all in. And that's it. It's the secrets behind effective SEO. Hope you guys loved it, and I'd love to open up into some questions at this point. And thank you guys for your time.
Great. Thank you so much, Corey. That was really terrific. And we do have some questions. The first one, I think you did hit on a little bit later, but someone was asking, what do you consider regular blogging? How often should practices blog?
Yeah, often. So typically between 2 to 4 times per month, because blogging is essentially a part of the breadcrumb trail. It's one part of the ecosystem that has to be executed. So typically 2 to 4 times a month, if you get really good content, 2 times a month is sufficient. But if you can pump out 2 to 4 a month, typically our top doctors that we're working with, hit within that range.
Great. And I also had a question about some of the key terms with the blogging, where you have sort of your titles, your opening sentences, your meta tags. Should people be repetitive with all that with their key terms, or should they vary that? Which works better with SEO?
Yeah, great question. Like I mentioned a little bit, we kind of did the scratch and sniff version a little bit here. But your key terms should be directly in line. Your short terms and your long terms that I gave the example for should all be in line with your direct SEO strategy. So for example, let's just say Botox. I'll use that as the example. That's a meta tag, a very short-term meta tag. And then the long-term tag would be, is Botox right for you? And then the content that you'd write along the lines of Botox and is Botox right for you is actually creating content that's going to answer those questions. But from the back end, when people are searching, is Botox right for me, there's something happening there. We've got to build a breadcrumb trail that takes that user that has never walked into your practice, never called you, to get them to go to your site. So we create websites and digital marketing content across all systems and streams, social media, email, blogging, that's going to answer that question with good content, educate the user that you've never met, never heard from in that moment, and push them directly to your website in your local area. So the frequency should be anywhere between 2 to 4 times a month. And then the content should really be educating people on Botox, and then educating the people that are asking, is this right for me? So how do I know that I'm right for Botox? We will write content along those lines, driving them to the site, and that's just part of the breadcrumb trail. Make sense?
Yes, that's great. And somebody had asked, you had mentioned reviews and the importance of reviews. If you could sort of expand on how to get the reviews, should they be sent to a review site? Should they be given to you to post, etc.?
Yeah, there's so many different types of philosophies that exist out there about reviews. Companies make their entire business model on reviews. So they're really good companies that we refer a good amount. Companies like Bird Eye. There's a lot of third-party referral sources out there like Yelp and different things. But the bottom line of reviews, and it doesn't matter what conference you go to, this is what you need to make sure that you do in terms of your reviews. Control that content. Now, you can't control it 100% of the time, but at least your people in the practice have to have some kind of a process by which you get those reviews. So how are you getting reviews from your patients, your new patients? How are you getting reviews from your existing patients? Do you have a process in place? Do you have a system in place? So third-party reviews are good, but you still want to be able to control that review. So, for example, we created a tool. It's just a simple platform that our doctors use, but in the practice, on an iPad or on a cell phone even, or on just a screen or kiosk in the practice, patients real-time in the office can actually, the front desk will literally ask them, if you're a new patient or existing patient, please leave a review here with us. Just tell us, how do we do? We create surveys, we create review sessions where you can actually get that content for them to rave about you right there and then. Because the bottom line is, and everybody in the room probably knows this and has experienced this, is that if someone leaves your practice and they have a bad experience, guess where they're going to go? They're not going to go to you to face-to-face at the glass window to the lady that they had a bad experience with. They're going to go straight to Yelp. They're going to smash your reputation. You're never going to know it, but something behind the scenes is actually happening there. What's happening is that your presence is being affected, and Google put out a policy that the only way to actually combat one negative review on any third party is to have 15 positive reviews to combat that one negative on a third party. So the solution becomes, if you've got 3 to 5 negative reviews on a third-party site anywhere, you have to write and come up with content 15 times 5 coming from your website to combat that. So if someone goes into your website and searches let's just use Mariposa Med Spa reviews. We don't want Yelp to come up first so that the users find a negative review. We want your website to come up first with your optimized content for your reviews, and then push those reviews out to third parties and have a way to do that. Now, I know that that's a loaded answer, so let me just bottom line it for you. Number one, you need to have a process that controls the content by which your practice gets reviews and releases them. And then number two, work with third parties strategically, but don't let them own your content and take that practice back. Because companies want nothing more to own your review content, own your domain, own your website. We don't believe in that. Crystal Clear believes that you should own your site, you should own your reviews, you should own your content. It's yours. So control it. Manage it. Does that help?
That's great. And there's another question here about Google Analytics. Somebody is saying that in their Google Analytics report, they sometimes see parentheses not provided under users by keyword, and it's often the largest number, so not provided is frustrating. Is this caused by a problem in the way their site is set up?
Yeah, great question. I mean, so I'd have to get my SEO expert on that one. But at Crystal Clear, we actually designed and built our own software, which actually helps to track things that actually matter in the sense of, and not that I'm saying that data doesn't matter, so forgive me, but I'm going to go and answer this question. But a lot of times with even like a lot of outdated softwares, some analytics don't point to what you want it to. So we can run the wheel, you know, like the lab rat wheel all day for things that are not about conversion, right? So if I understand the question correctly, I guess the question is that data important to conversion?
Okay, so basically are the things that are not showing up really key to you converting? And
that's really my question. Yeah.
Yeah, and the answer from the person who said the question was yes, they are. So that was her frustration.
And again, so just so I clarify, what is that? Can you just boil down that analytic? Because I'm not jumping in Google Analytics personally. I don't. So if I could just, what is that tracking? What number is she after? Again, is it web hits?
I'm going to see if she sends a quick note, but what she has right here is that when she's looking at users by keyword, it's coming up as not provided under certain terms.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
here, let's see. It's a report that tells you what keyword people are using to find you.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
It's the report that tells you what keywords people are using to find you.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, I get it. So that is incredibly important. But the answer, so what's coming up again on her end? What does it show her? What does it actually say?
I'm sorry, it says not provided, it sounds like.
Okay, so there's no bridge connection point to actually telling them how they're finding them from those keywords. That's a massive disconnect. You want to know that information, and yes, to answer her question, that is essential in terms of tracking content to how people are finding you and how people are connecting to those keywords. Your SEO company and provider should be able to do that and connect and tie that together. But a lot of times what we found with our software that we engage to the entire digital marketing process and the SEO process is we can actually tell you how many people went to your site based on the page of content that's directly connected to SEO. So for example, if you've got a key term that's Botox New England or Botox Providence, Rhode Island, we know how many pages, sessions, and views people went to visit just that page. Even if they came from Facebook to go to your website, we know that they came from Facebook to go to your website because we're tracking those keywords in connection to those actual landing pages and social bookmarking. So yes, it's absolutely important, and that should be fixed on their SEO side.
Terrific, and she said, thank you very much.
I hope that answered, yeah.
And this is a little bit maybe connected when you're talking about tracking and knowing where people are coming from. If someone is asking, can you provide a little bit more detail on how to actually track this ROI so I know who's coming from my site and from what content?
Yeah. So there's a number of ways to do it. Again, Google Analytics has it's a great system, great setup. But what we found is in the medical space, especially with private doctors, cosmetics, anything cosmetic and aesthetic, what doctors have to know is how, again, attached to SEO, attached to landing pages, attached to my services, what do people want? How are they going to find me? And it all boils down to this, and I'll just jump back if I can. I think you guys can still see my screen. This is the bottom number, really the bottom line of what to track. You need a way, whether it be a software in place, which Crystal Clear has an amazing software that we would love to actually have anybody be a part of with us and actually utilize and work with us. We would love that. But at the end of the day, whether you work with us or not, this is what you should be tracking. This is what you should be measuring. How many people did we reach that were impressions for social media? How many people went to my site because of social media and all of the marketing activities, whether it's email, blogging, social media? How many people came to my site? And out of those people that went to my site, how many people actually did something? The rest of it is like peanut butter and fluff if we're not talking about this. Even SEO, if you think about it, we can talk about good practices and philosophies and methods of SEO, but if those SEO methods aren't driving one result, which is phone calls and forms, and then know what drove the activity there really is no point of discussion. So this right here is the result, but the SEO has to be tied together in such a way that, again, it's built with your top 6 to 12 pages, your top services and procedures with separate landing pages, so that it's tying the user to go back to those pages on your site, not anywhere else, to produce phone calls and forms.
Great. Now, if someone doesn't have a software program, would at least verbally asking people at the front desk help if people are calling? How did you find out about us? Or is there a better way?
Yeah, that's primarily how places do it. We again, our software removes that human error. Because think about it. So old marketing back in the day, you drive on a highway in Vegas and you see a big highway banner, and the only way that you could truly track if that marketing piece that you've spent tons of money on the highway was effective was by that little phone call number that someone could call as they're driving 80 or 90 miles per hour past a banner online, on the highway, excuse me. But now we live in a digital age, so we recommend putting digital tracking numbers on your website, making sure that it's connected to your in-office phone so that you're recording phone calls. I can't stress this enough, guys. More important than your SEO, if not very closely important, track your phone calls. Because 90%, well, I don't want to say that. Let's just say 50% of the time, your people aren't asking 100% of the time, hey, how did you hear about us? They're talking about, the value, getting into services, getting into procedures. So that's why it goes back to your people are the most important. But if you've got a tool in place, a software in place like ours, or a software solution in place that not only records the phone calls, but it dials into, again, where did the people land when they reached your website? Why did they call you? So you can track, manage, and measure that. We have a very clear process for that.
Thank you. And I have another question, and it was asking about let's say you have a practice name and then you have 3 physicians who are the providers. Should each of the physicians be listed into Google separately as well as the practice name, or focus on the practice name? What do you recommend?
Yeah, there's a blend. I've seen both ways. I've seen doctors that just brand the personal doctor's name and then have other doctors underneath them, and that's successful and it works. I've seen doctors, and we've had doctors just say, well, we don't want a personal branding, we want an entity. We want a business type of a branding, and then we want doctors under that. So, it's just important what's most important to you, how you want to put your feet forward. But what I would definitely say is that you would absolutely want doctors to have their own landing page, especially if you're in a location, whether it's a personal doctor branding or an entity business name. You want to have, especially if they're doing separate services and procedures, you definitely want to have separate landing pages that actually uniquely and strategically market those services, especially if they're revenue generating, very efficiently. Very efficiently. Typically it's best to do everything under one website. So SEO is clean, it's efficient, it's not broken up into 2 or 3 different packages or 2 or 3 different websites, because that can bog down your local SEO presence, especially if you're doing similar services and procedures. So you want to have a really good SEO, again, your SEO terms set up. If you've got multiple doctors, you want to do maybe a separate landing page for that one doctor. Talk about that doctor, what their services are, and how to best tie that breadcrumb trail to all of social media back to that doctor under the umbrella of the main practice.
Wonderful. And it looks like that is our last question. I do want to remind people, if you want to come back and review any of this information or share this with any of your staff members, this webinar will be up on the Metaesthetics YouTube page, and you can also find it at metaestheticsmagazine.com/webinar, and that will be up within a day or so. And Corey, I want to thank you so much. This has been really great, really interesting, and I think it'll be really helpful to a lot of practices out there.
Hey, thanks everybody. Love spending this time with you guys. Have a great day.